All right, hey, I'm Jensen. I work with Utah Tree Co. and I handle the stump grinding portion of this business. So a lot of people ask, what is stump grinding? They don't even know what it is. After Utah Tree Co. takes your tree down, cuts it down, they're gonna cut it nice and low and you're gonna get a stump. So with that stump, there's a new obstacle that you have. It's gonna be ugly sitting in your yard. It could be a tripping hazard. It could be something that you just don't want because you're doing a new project over it. Now what do? Well, that's where I come in. So after the tree company, after Utah Tree Co. comes and cuts it down, they're looking for a few things to get the stump where it needs to be. On this stump in particular, you got metal sitting right in here, so that's gonna cause a hazard. You can cut it above, get this portion out, and then you gotta come down and cut it down below. You get a nice flush cut for the stump grinder. After we get the stump cut down nice and low, you gotta make sure all the safety hazards are gone. So I'll get my metal detector, I'll look around for metal out around the stump. And it doesn't look like there's any metal around the stump, so it's getting ready to go for stump grinding. All right, the biggest question that a customer has is, how much is this gonna cost me? I like to categorize tree stumps into small, medium, or large. A stump like this, I consider it to be small to medium. This is gonna fall around that $150 to $250 range for just grinding the stump. So a stump like this is pretty easy access getting to this backyard. This machine will fit inside of a 36-inch residential gate. It's easy to get to, so there's no additional cost. Grinding this stump, it's in a field, so there's no obstacles or barriers around this stump. This is a pretty straightforward stump, which means it's going to take less time. A stump like this, about 18 inches in diameter, will usually take me about an hour, start to finish, with setup and cleanup. Most people ask, well, what does a stump grinder look like? What does it do? Does it auger down into the ground? My stump grinder in particular has these blades on the front. These are carbide tip blades that are very powerful. I ask the customer to not be close to the machine when I'm stump grinding. These teeth rotate into the ground and cut very aggressively. This machine's just gonna go left or right and cut across the stump. One thing that I like to do is, for this person in particular, they wanna be able to garden and plant after the stump grinding is done. What that usually means to me is that they're looking for 8 to 12 inches down into the ground, which is possible to achieve with this machine. After the stump grinding is done, we've got about 8 to 12 inches down into the ground. The customers will usually ask me, is this tree gonna grow back? One thing that Utah Tree Co. does is we pour Tordon on the stump, and that's a stump killer. It'll make it so it won't grow anymore. Another thing that customers ask me is, what about the roots and root flares around the stump? This stump grinder can easily take out those roots as well. Okay, so now the stump is ground out. You can see we got about 8 inches down below ground. Stump's completely gone, and now you got a big pile of mulch. This comes down to the two charges that I was talking about. You can either have us just rake it all back into the hole, nice and tidy for you to handle, or we can haul the mulch off ourselves, which will be an additional cost.